Do you have any targets right now, Stacy, of who you'd like to go after?
I did like Njoku. I really did. I also like Deontay from the Carolina
Carolina.
Panthers,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what Joe Ortiz is going to do because what happened last week, that could make them sit back and say, "Hey, it's coming together," and you might not.
Hmm.
I'm just saying, we went all in. And you
Yeah.
brought in, you paying a lot of people on this coaching staff. And then look at the defense. Don't waste this defense. We have a top 5 defense right now.
I was again talking to the group chat about this, Stacy. Looking at how this team has come together, I was sending out to the guys like you tell me right now that we're just going to re-sign all these prove-its, all these guys that came in on 1-year deals, Denzel Perryman, Puna Ford, Tart, um, Fulton, and who we traded for, Molden. I'm good. Get them
I,
back in the building. Keep them here
me
for a
too.
couple years.
I
Two to
agree.
2 to 3 year deals across the board,
I
and
agree.
let's use whatever that remaining cap we have. Khalil Mack, the remaining cap we have, and my before Stacy, I was really adamant on wanting a defensive tackle. I wanted a center, defensive tackle, tight end. Those were my top three.
Mhm.
And after watching this season play out, man, I love Puna Ford and Tart. I want them back. Like
Yes. Me too.
they have surpassed expectations so much, not
Yes.
just by shutting down the run, but like you said, you see them both posting up when the quarterback is going through his motion, and we're
Yes.
getting hands up in the air. We're knocking balls down. It's great to see.
Yes.
So if we say, yeah, what we're going to do on defense in the offseason is just focus our spending on bringing this unit back because this is a unit.
It is.
And with our remaining cap space, we are going to bring in bring in 1 or 2 big pieces on offense,
Mhm.
and we're attacking offensive line, tight end, receiver in the draft. I'd be like, okay, sign me
Yes.
up because that's all
Absolutely.
this team right now.
Absolutely.
But but yeah, in terms of acquisitions this year, though, do you think Thielen still has it, or do you think he's kind of Adam
Who?
Thielen? Adam Thielen?
Um, no, because I'm saying that's what we got right now. We got a
Yeah, just
bunch of
kind of
guys we
slower.
depending
Yeah,
on that's a little slower, that got injury history. I want to get some, because we have those kind of guys on this team. Like DJ Chalk, he might be a game changer,
yeah.
but we can't get him on the field, because we depending on these guys. So I don't like Adam Thielen. I don't. He was a
Because
great receiver, but right now he can't get on the field either. And
he
I
can't.
seen
I
him
haven't been
play.
following the Panthers at all, so I have no idea. I'm
I
just
seen
trying
him
to
play.
think.
He's hurt right now.
Okay,
He's
gotcha,
hurt
gotcha.
right now, but he's a shell of what he used to be, though. He's not.
Yeah,
We
I
we
just like
we're
targeting
talking
those
about a
guys on
game
bad
changer.
teams. But so I'm trying to think of it, Stacy, because I would like Deontay as well, but if we're only, I don't think we're gonna go big on 2 guys. So
Mhm.
if we were to part with like a day 2 pick, like a third rounder is probably as high as they'd be willing to part with. I'd want that to be a tight end, and then a 6th or a 7th, kind of like what the Patriots just did with that pass rusher. I forget how you say his name. Uche. Do you say it
Yeah,
Uche
yeah,
or
yeah,
uh,
yes.
they just got him for cheap. Even both D Hop and Cooper were pretty cheap, respectively. I'd be okay with parting with a day 3 for a receiver, but that's what I would try to do. I would like to go heavy on tight end and then try to find a discount at wide receiver. What do you think?
I got a proposal for you, and you're
Okay.
probably gonna think I'm crazy, and some of the viewers probably gonna think I'm crazy because I know they're gonna start hitting me up in the chat for saying this because I'm very engaged with the viewers in the chat room of this
Mhm.
podcast. Right? Here's what I would say. This is what I would do. I know it might seem like a reach, but I'm saying week 8, week 9, we didn't see this defense. We know that Jesse Minter's the real deal. You
Mhm.
done lost your corners. You got Taheeb still and Cam Hart playing, and we didn't miss a beat. Cam Hart out there hitting. I was worried about his aggressiveness being taken away because of that penalty that he got
Yeah.
unnecessary rough at the end of the game. But he came out there laying wood again.
Mhm.
So I love that about him. I even like him, starting to like him more than Asante right now. And so you got a top 5 defense right now. The defensive line is constantly getting pressure all the time. The linebackers are playing good, the secondary, the corners. So I'm saying, what is this team missing? When I look at the offense, we know what J.K. Dobbins could do. We know Justin Herbert showed he's still him. Now, what does this team need? I would give up a first-round pick.
Oh.
I would. Hear me out. I would give up a first-round pick to the Seattle Seahawks.
Metcalf?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't think Metcalf added on this team?
Yeah.
Because Metcalf is a difference maker at the receiver spot. He's big. He's strong. He can go across the middle. He could take the hits. He's one of the fastest receivers in football for his size, too. He that big threat in the red zone. You could throw fades in the corner. He's a guy that defenses respect immediately if he arrived there. You don't think they can eat? If you have who in the draft that you can draft right now in the first round, that's DJ Metcalf.
I mean, I'd be all for it. I don't know how willing Seattle's going to be to part with him because he's one of those difference makers, like you said. But if we could get him for a first, I'd be interested.
The reason why I said that, when you look, I look at all the games, and they're not a good team right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a taste of the playoffs already. He wants to win. Them guys, he wants to be on primetime games on ESPN, Monday Night Football. He wants to be in December and January still playing football. But I'm seeing a lot now where the ball is not coming to him. They're struggling. They're getting sacked. It's difficult to run the ball a lot. And he's sitting there on the bench like this. Totally pissed. And I'm like, you think he wouldn't want Justin Herbert throwing him the ball with Jim Harbaugh, the coach, and looking at the direction that they're taking this organization in right now? That's just me. Now, maybe I'm reaching like crazy, but I'm just looking, saying all this offense need is one receiver that they don't respect. Joshua Palmer. I mean, all due respect, when they come and play the Chargers, their whole thing is, we're going to put 9 men in the box and we're not going to let J.K. Dobbins beat us. Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing. How do you solve that? You have DK Metcalf on the side now. And then you have Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnston, and you have Ladd McConkey.
I'd love it, Stacey. And to be honest with you, the problem is, they're 4-4 right now. So you're probably not going to get them selling, especially with the Niners having a shaky season so far. And
it's kind of a weak division record-wise right now over there.
Yeah, it's a little funky. So they're probably not going to sell. But man, if we're doing hypotheticals.
That was a hypothetical. I don't believe. Do I think they're going to do that? No, I don't. But I would love if they did it, though.
But if you could send them a first and a sprinkle of something else and grab Metcalf and Noah Fant, I'd be like, because that's now another guy.
Yeah. I don't think you would get both, but
I'd even try for Fant. Because Fant might be cheap because he hasn't blown up in that offense yet. They haven't really targeted him too much, but we know he's talented. And they have AJ Barner behind him who has caught every pass he's been targeted on so far this season. So he's doing well for them as well. But I like it, Stacey. I like the outside the box thing.
I mean, I know it's not going to happen, but as a diehard fan that just want to freaking win, man, that's where but do I realistically think that Ortiz and Harbaugh will sit down and say, let's go for it. Let's go get Matt. I don't think it'll happen. But as a diehard fan, if you ask for a hypothetical, that's what I would like to see happen. I just want to win, man. I just want to win a Super Bowl. That's all.
My number one target, Stacey, is probably not very likely, but it's interdivision trade.
In the division?
Interdivision trade, going over to Tom Telesco and being like, Tom, come back to Costa Mesa real quick. Come back to let's come back to Orange County, LA. Let's have a coffee. Let's talk and see what we can pull Michael Mayer for. They're not really using him a ton. He's not getting targets. Brock Bowers is a revelation. You can talk about how great of a pick that was.
He's the next great tight end.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Easy.
And they Tom had a chance to draft Michael Mayer and chose Quentin Johnston instead. So I don't know if he's as high on Michael Mayer as I know I was, because I was a lot higher on him. I was hoping that we would draft him in that spot. And I get it. He hasn't done great in the NFL yet. I attribute a portion of that because he's not generational like Brock. Brock's in a whole other category.
Yeah.
But he's had to play through some terrible quarterback play so far in his career and a pretty dysfunctional Raiders organization. He's the kind of guy that feels like a Greg Roman fit. When he played at Notre Dame, it was a run first team. He wasn't the most polished run blocker, but he was very willing. He's a big body dude and is great at contested catches, was a solid receiving threat despite always having kind of shaky quarterback play at Notre Dame. And the best quarterback he had was Ian Book, who, if you watch the games, and you see he hasn't done anything in the NFL because he was more of a scrambling dual threat option kind of guy that could occasionally scramble around in the pocket long enough to wait for somebody to get open. So he's somebody that I would like to try to buy on the cheap while the Raiders are potentially trying to rebuild themselves, because I think he's got his best football ahead of him if he's in a better situation.
I like him. I like him a lot. And Bowers is remind me of a young George Kittle. He's that good. Receiver / tight end, like Gates was. He was a tight end. He was a receiver in a tight end's body.
So I don't think we want to get to that. Well, do you now wish we had picked Bowers instead of Alt?
I would
conversation, because I'm not there at either.
Love Alt.
But seeing what Bowers could do, if you had that conversation with Tom and it wasn't going well, and you said, well, you know what, let's test the water here. I'll give you this next year's first and the 2026 first for Bowers. Would you take that?
But they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. He'll be fired if he did that.
I know. When you hit on those guys, man, there's no amount of picks that make it worth it. He's going to be a generational guy for them. I agree.
Yeah, but the Raiders would be like, the Raiders just wouldn't give up. It's like some guys are untouchable.
Yeah.
And I think Bowers is the only Raider that's untouchable right now.
I agree. Even Crosby is probably going to get dangled in the offseason.
Absolutely.
The reality is they're going to need to stack some picks.
Yep.
They're going to need to sell some guys because they're going to want to have the power, unless they just leverage away their future with their future picks. That's always an option. But there's going to be, as there always is, a bit of a bidding war for those quarterbacks at the top of the pile. And, they might want that extra draft capital. It's not going to come from Bowers, like you said. I agree with you. But any way that they can get it is worth looking at. And that's why I think Michael Mayer is an option. Maybe a fourth, maybe a third. I don't know if I'd go third, but maybe a fourth. You still have 2 years on a cheap deal. So we'll see.
My friend is a Giant fan, and he's going through his frustrations right now. But he did ask me the other day, do we wish we would have took all? That was before we had the game Sunday. Our receivers have been struggling. And I told him no. And the reason why I say this, I heard an interview. I hated it when we had to draft if we would take like an offensive lineman, because that ain't the sexy pick. You see all these great linebackers, athletic guys running through A gaps and B gaps, blitzing, hitting the hell out of these players, running backs. You see all of those. Those are like all those flashy moves and these great players. And then you're taking a 330-pound off it. I hated it. But one day I heard an interview like about 13 years ago, Mark Sklereth, 2-time Super Bowl champions for the Denver Broncos. He was having a conversation with someone, and he was saying, certain teams that try to build a team with great receivers and everything else, but they have a leaky line. They they have bad guards, and so he said, I'm not just saying this because I was a all-pro guard, but he said we played in the era where you win games 13-10. I don't care what kind of weapons you have. The games are won and lost in the trenches. And if you can't win in the trenches, I don't care what kind of weapons you have. You will not win if you can't win the trenches. And he sold me. And after that, like, look, man, we know what we were going through with Pipkins at right tackle the last couple of years, and and Storm Norton. We were like, oh my God, we were just like,
Well,
please
Stacy,
get him out of there.
when he said that, were your ears burning? Because he was talking about us, man. That was our identity forever, right? Just let's bring in a receiver, spend money on the receivers, and look where it got us. I love Keenan and I love Mike, but it got Herbert banged up. Rivers kept having to call. Like, what will stick with me forever is that season where Rivers was having to lean over the center and call out the pass protections himself because we didn't have anybody. We were starting a center that had such little experience. He wasn't able to call out the protections.
Right.
I fully agree with that. And I think I expressed this on another show that we had, Stacy, but when we picked Alt and then we picked Ladd, I liked the process from a value standpoint, but there was a part of me that was sitting there like, man, I really wish we would have gone Frazier or Jackson Powers Johnson, because if we don't shore up the middle of that line, having these elite bookends isn't going to do us any good. It's going to be like just having two pillars in a river and no wall connecting them, so the water's just going to go right around those pillars and it's still going to get through. You're not going to have a dam. But I got to give Bozeman his flowers for what he did this week and see the bigger picture. Ladd wasn't picked for this year. He was picked on a projection over his career. And if this year we just, we're rolling out with our offensive line the way it is, and next season we have a chance to shore up the interior of the line. If we can do that, if we add one stud in the center of that line and then one more, maybe journeyman, but somebody that has starting experience, that has high upside, one of those prove it guys that we've brought in on defense, bring him in on the offensive side of the ball. I think the world will change for that offense. It'll be a whole different look when we have a little bit of domination in the middle of that line, some strong play.
Yeah, I respect Bozeman too. I respect him for what he did and stand up for his quarterback. But at the end of the day, everyone knows that one of the weakest spots is center on our team, and you need to fix that. I think that Zion Johnson take too much heat. I think Zion Johnson, he's not great. Like, how many teams got Pro Bowl guards, Pro Bowl centers, Pro Bowl left tackle, Pro Bowl? No, you don't. Everybody can't be no Pro Bowl caliber. Everybody got their role to play. Zion Johnson's big, strong. I think he's really good. He's not great, but I think he's good. He's serviceable. He's a starting guard in this league. But I think that if you had a center, a really good center, I think that would fix our issues, but Zion Johnson, he takes a lot of heat, and people say, get him out of here. But who are you going to bring in? PFF had him out of 50-something guards, number 15.
Yeah.
But we rag him. Like, the best players at any position in the National Football League is going to get beat sometime. You're going to miss tackles sometime. It just happens. You're not going to be great every single play.
Yeah. The other side gets paid too, man.
Yes, they do. If you got rid of Pipkins and bring in another guard, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but we definitely need a center, though.
I think we need to get rid of Pipkins. I just don't think he has the foundational strength.
He's not a starter in my
opinion. To be a guard. He needs to be made, like, if he's going to be making, I think, $9 or $10 million a year next year. And it was tackle money for him. And, maybe he can be worth that on a team where he is starting at tackle, maybe, but he's not worth that at guard. You can find a replacement guard for him on the vet men that would do what he's doing. Bozeman, Stacy,
we knew about Bozeman before he came, though. All the reports on Bozeman was he's good at blocking, but at pass protection, he was poor. We knew that already.
Yeah. But I would even give him a pay raise and bring him back as depth. He's on the vet man, $1.2 million right now.
With that.
If they were to pay him $2 million, a little bit more of a raise because he was reliable and did all right, paying $2 million for a guy as a depth piece that knows your offense and can play center, left guard, and right guard is not a bad investment. You
I
know,
like
when
it.
we talk about needing to have depth, that's one way to do it. And then we're not showing our cards when we go into the draft or free agency. But we still need to be looking at a major upgrade in that position. But
Yes.
I don't necessarily does not mean I want Bozeman to go. I think there's a reality where you can even give him that pay raise, keep him as depth, and be both fiscally responsible in doing so and be building a strong team around that. I think he makes us better in that perspective.
I do. I'm gonna tell you, I have no problem with that, with him being a depth piece. I, of course, that's one position that definitely needs to be upgraded, without a
Mhm.
doubt. But bringing him back for a nice price as a backup, I would love it.
Mhm.
I love it. That works out for me. Anything else you want to finish up with? We gonna wrap it up. We well into well over an hour. We always start saying that we're gonna keep it short, and I look up and it's over an hour.
Oh man, I think we pretty much covered it all, Stacy. We'll be talking on Thursday or Friday, depending on how our
Yeah,
schedule's lined up.
right, right.